Happy Wednesday, traders. How is everybody doing today? It is Matt and Jacey with Empire Algorithmic Trading here to bring you your daily dose of Vwapvision's Stock Talk.
It's where we use the volume weighted average price to make sense of the market, tells us who's in control, buyers or sellers, and we're getting some life, Matt, so I'm kind of excited. It's time for a little
Ooh,
stock talk.
Stock Talk.
Well, Matt, yesterday, we're just kind of, I've gotten so used to focusing on the VWAP that I kind of forgot about William O'Neill's confirmation day. And we actually did hit a classic Bill O'Neill confirmation day. And so I do want to acknowledge that. That's exciting, right? And we had a pretty nice, it didn't end the day well, but it's a peak over resistance. So we saw a bunch of stocks yesterday popping up above their VWAPs. And today the S&P and all the other indexes popped up a bunch there above their 20-day average. Now, it did close lower than the open. It did close near the lows. It did close below those resistance points. And that's all bearish in a somewhat. It dampens the excitement of the day, let's say. But when you combine the fact that we're starting to see stocks start trading and living and closing above the VWAPs, that's what leading stocks do. So we hopefully see some continuation for that, and then the averages, I should say, will come along. So then if it doesn't materialize, then the leaders are going to fall back, and then the markets will fall back down further. So we've been saying it seems like for forever and a day, like a broken record, but we're literally at another pivotal point, right? But it's exciting. So we're technically still in a red zone. The algo, we're not going to put any major buy alerts. Our automatic program that we're working on would not be doing any buying right now. However, I myself, as an individual, I'm probably going to, if anything good breaks out, as long as this rally holds, and we can maintain the 20-day moving average, because that's been the resistance, we're probably going to see a move up to the all-time high VWAP, which we'll take a look at. That's going to produce some tradable rallies and some breakout stocks. So what's likely to happen, let's say it runs up to the all-time VWAP, we'll probably see some 10%, 12% gains on some of these potential breakouts that we're seeing. And then a quick test as the market pulls back from the resistance. We'll probably see a test of those breakouts, which will then offer another opportunity when that test holds. They'll either hold or fail, right? And so it's all a process. We're very early into the stages, so we don't have to go rushing in. It's a nice rally. If it breaks above the highs, we'll take a look at the chart, but we might have an established higher low, which is another bullish sign. So I'm trying to tune out all the noise, right? I'm trying to tune out all the nonsense
Numbers.
that's causing all the volatility, and I'm just trying to look at what are we seeing in the market. I'm reminded of a quote by John Maynard Keynes when someone asked him, what do you do when new data comes to light that goes against what you thought? And he says, I changed my mind. So that's the classic. You have to react. Don't get stuck in a mindset. Don't get stuck in thought processes. Just look at what the model is doing. Look at what the price and the volume is doing. And today was a good sign. And what we're seeing from some stocks, I mean, the algorithm is going to kick out some buy signals that it hasn't had for a while. We're going to go over those with Arrow Review for our paid Patreon subscribers. And there's some pretty good looking setups. And so I'm kind of excited, right? It's like, come on, man, it's been forever. Let's just try and get a little action going here. But the thing is if it works, then we can take some time. We don't have to, if it lasts and it's real, then this is going to last for a while. So, don't go rushing in, but just know that now is the time. Let's just start looking and see what's available. So let's just take a look at the indexes and a couple of charts.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
I'm sorry, what was that, Matt?
I said, let's go. I'm excited.
We're going to save quite a few of the strongest bullish moves for arrow review, but I'm just going to show just a typical action of kind of what we're seeing. A lot of the stronger ones again are we'll talk about in arrow review, but most of all, the bond market gapped up. This is what we're going to see across the board: a big gap up on the bond market, and then just a continuous selling throughout the day. We closed near the lows. Opened up here at the high, this filled in candle right there. That means that's where that's where it opened. And then any filling underneath, it means it closed lower than the open. So any candle that's hollow, kind of like this one right here, it closed higher than the open. Even though it was a down day, it's somewhat of a bullish down day. Even though this is an up day, it's somewhat of a bearish up day. So that's kind of a little bit why we like to use the candlesticks. It just gives you a good visual on the intraday action of the market. Same thing with the S&P 500. Gapped up, rallied up, gapped above its 10-day, 20-day moving average, rallied up, but then sold off for the rest of the day. Ended up closing below that 20-day moving average, closed below its open, and just off of its lows. Overall, that's not an exciting candle, but it is a peak above resistance, and it's kind of what you would expect the first attempt. Unless we were in a rip-roaring bull market, you would expect the first attempt to come back like this a little bit. If we were a rip-roaring bull, this would be a V. We wouldn't really be talking about it. So it's just all part of the process, and we're going to see this over and over again. Same thing with the Nasdaq Composite. It too closed below its 20-day moving average. Same thing with the small caps, finding resistance a little bit at their longer term VWAPs. We're going to want to see that kind of hopefully not provide too much resistance, but we need to see the small caps rally and the mid caps. Now, the small and the mid caps are starting to show a little bit of leadership. They just look better than both the Nasdaq and the S&P, right? The S&P is below its recent highs from this trading range. Same thing with the Nasdaq. However, the small caps are now technically above those, and then same thing with the mid caps. So those are potential breakouts on the small and the mids, which is a very, very good sign. Still have a lot of work to do. The mid cap index, for example, is at 509. This ETF is. The all-time VWAP is at 550. But that's a nice 10%, 9% move that you could probably get out of the mid caps, right? And that's a pretty significant move for leading stocks. Individual stocks on that move would probably go up 15 to 20%, if not more. So that's why I'm a little excited. We've got some potential here. If this thing can move up to those VWAPs, then we could see some potential good moves out of some breakouts. So, but we got to let that happen, right? We can't go chasing anything. We got to let the market come to us. And if this works out, then all those opportunities will be there, and we'll just be able to take advantage. And we'll kind of have an idea of what the ceiling is, especially where those VWAPs are on the indexes. So it's a pretty clear roadmap of what to do and just how to react. And then if you buy in and the thing reverses, you have very clear stops. And so you just get right back out, the market tests the lows, and then we start the process all over again. So the VIX did what the VIX should do when the market rallies like that. It too broke out of its little trading range it's had here for the past week. So that's nice. We want to see that VIX come down. We want to see those volatility levels come down. So all in all, not the strongest close, but you could paint a pretty bullish picture just from looking at these charts, taking all the news out, all the headlines out, all the worries out of everything, just looking at the price and volume, you can make a somewhat bullish argument for that. This is one of the stocks that bucked that trend. X Financial.
Real quick before we jump into these stocks, I'm sorry to interject here.
Hey, no problem.
Do you have any concern on all of those charts that there didn't seem to be a large volume pushing all of this? It seems to be just kind of middling volume, okay volume, but slightly higher than the last few days, but still not above like average.
No, you just want to see higher volume than the day before, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be above average. That builds confidence. Now, if you're looking at an individual stock, yes, you do want to see above average. Now, ideally, yes, you would want to see above average volume here. But like I said, that just raises the confidence level. But in this point, we're just looking at price. Price is what pays. And so as long as there was higher volume, then that's what we want. And there was pretty much higher volume across the board. And pretty significantly compared to the day before. So there's a couple of ways to look at that. You could look at that in a bearish sense. That just means sellers were coming into the market more than the buyers because the market sold off throughout the day. So the higher volume, this could be considered a hidden distribution day, if you would, right? Just on the intraday dynamics for it. Or you could say, hey, it's massive accumulation above resistance, right? It didn't hold that throughout the day, but there's still all those buyers. It didn't completely reverse, and we still closed up 1.6%. That's a heck of a bullish day, right? Look at that very strong gap. So there's a couple of ways you could read that. So that's when sometimes you just ignore that and just look at the price and then just go from there, right? So
Perfect.
does that answer your question?
It does. I appreciate it, buddy.
All right, cool. Back to X Financial. This bucked the trend, right? It rallied straight up right into its resistance, right at the VWAP. It would be nice to see that tighten up a little bit, but it did have, when you look at this chart, it did have a pretty nice little wedge forming right here that it just clearly broke out of. So nice, strong support here right around this VWAP, and then a nice pop. So this is the kind of moves we would like to see, on some of the move like that we're going to see on some of these trades, right? There's just nice, these big pops like that. Nice to see this kind of tighten up a little bit and then make another move right as the market continues to move higher. So keep XYF on your watch list. We obviously have it on ours. We've got the computer watching it for us. So I just like to check these charts every once in a while. However, most stocks that I saw, there's enough to actually almost all the rest of today are this pattern, right? Open right at the 20-day moving average or right at the VWAP and then just selling off for the day. So there is some resistance there still. Like I said, you could treat this as a shorting opportunity if you're still bearish and you think this is just a head fake and a bull trap. Of course, I'm bullish, right? So I'm always going to be looking for the long trade. But if you wanted to flip that, this would be a pretty good short. Right at the resistance, it sold off, it closed below it, it couldn't maintain the rally, and there was higher volume. So it's probably going to fill this gap, and that's a potential. So then in that case, the stop loss would be today's high, right, of 36.29. It's at 34, so it's like what, 2.5 points. If even that, buck 90. And you can possibly get a test of this low, right, which is down at 26. So you're risking a buck 90 to make potentially $9, $8. So that's a pretty good risk reward ratio. But like I said, I'm bulls. I'm just watching. I just want all this to fill. I don't really care about any of that action. I just want to get this thing back up to 70. When it crosses around 43, 44, let's buy that thing and then get it up to 70 and beyond, right? So that's kind of what I'm looking for. But we're going to see this over and over again. Semtech, similar thing. TSSI, once again, similar pattern. Credo actually ran up, closed right at its 20-day. Interesting enough, almost found resistance at this long-term VWAP that is still below. ACMR, it found resistance right at its long-term all-time high VWAP and traded right back down off of there. Affirm, same thing. It found resistance at its VWAP and sold off. But these are good things. These are constructive. It's showing that there's interest there. There's a market there. So we know there's resistance there. In Affirm's case, we know that sellers are coming in. And so we know when the price starts clearing that, we know those sellers are running out and the buyers are still maintaining that. That's why what we're looking for. That's why we treat that as the buy signal. So when you see resistance break, it tends to become support. And that's when the market tends to rally off of that. AppLovin, excuse me, same thing. Robinhood managed to close and trade up above its all-time high VWAP for the first time in a while. I mean, it's traded up ahead, back here in late March, and then once again a couple weeks ago. As the market tried to shake everybody out, it held strong around its 20-day and rallied back up. This is a pretty strong looking pattern right here. That's showing strength, and plus you got above average volume out of the move too. So that's the kind of constructive work we want to see. These are all exciting moves. Same thing with Roblox. Even though it traded off its highs, the price is what's important. It gapped up. It held above its all-time high VWAP. So we want to see this continue that trend and move higher, and that'll flash a buy signal for us. And same thing with
Rubrik, not Roblox, for those who are listening.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rubrik. My bad. I saw the R and I was thinking Roblox. Still thinking about Roblox from last night. Yeah, Rubrik, Argan, same thing. Nice strong move above its VWAP. Tried
Nice.
tried breaking out throughout this whole ordeal. Has tried breaking out and it just could not do it. So, but we're seeing higher lows, right? So you've got a low here, another higher low, another higher low, a potential move higher, some lower highs right here. So that's a good pattern. That's what you want to see. If the market continues to move higher, this will most likely be a continued leader. And then same thing with HIMS. HIMS found resistance. It's at 20-day moving average. Its all-time high VWAP is up around 40. So we'll see if that can make a move. But those are pretty consistent. What I saw across the board was a lot of early resistance was being met. The strongest ones traded above that, and the algorithm is going to find those, and we'll go over arrow review with that. So with that, Maddie, that is today's Stock Talk.
Oh, that's fantastic. And thank you so much for walking us through that, Jace. And for all of you listening on Spotify and YouTube, make sure to like, follow us for your daily dose of our market breakdowns. If you want to learn more about us, vwapvision.com is our webpage. That's vwapvision.com to figure out who we are, what we try to do, and a little more information about our algorithm and how we play with it. Follow us on all of our socials: Facebook, Instagram. We're on X, we're on Blue Sky, and the granddaddy, the best, the number one thing that you want to follow is our Patreon. It is where we give you access to the daily buy and sell signals that our algorithm kicks out for us. Again, we're not traders. We just like to show you what we do with that information. What you do with it is up to you. 20 bucks a month gives you access to educational videos, a really cool little community where you can interact with us and ask us some questions, and especially those daily arrow signals. Patreon.com/Empire Algorithmic Trading gets you there, and that and so much more. And that being said, we just want to say thank you for listening, thank you for following, and happy trading.
Happy trading, everybody. All right, Matt, we'll talk to you during arrow review. I'm excited.
Oh, can't wait, JC.
All right, my friend. See ya.